Hey, Richard, it's wonderful to see you again. This is always really fun to talk about UX patterns. Employee experience is, of course, something we all both work in so much, and we've learned a
Mm.
lot together as a team and as individuals. So I would love to know a little bit more about what you're seeing around UX, specifically around intranet. From a UX perspective, intranets have gone through quite a few changes over the years and the decades. And in particular, with employee experience being so front and center for a lot of organizations,
Mm.
we used to say that the digital hub of the digital workplace was the intranet. And now, the question is like, which experience is really, the one that people connect with in that way? Is it Teams? Is it, the intranet? Is it something else? Is the homepage still as important as it always has been? So with that, I'll pass it over to you. I'd love to get your opinions on what's going on around UX for intranets.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, mixed emotions here because everyone wants to be on the homepage and featured on the homepage. It seems to be the first thing we always talk with our customers about. But we're also seeing these updates happening with landing pages and dynamic content, and then also some really interesting conversations between, well, what should be on the homepage? What kind of content is critical there? So there's two different types. Your traditional static type content, it's curated by a person, it's manually updated. And then we see more dynamic content where it's automated, it's system generated. This could be from AI or even user behaviors that we're seeing, and your home pages are updating and in real time, basically. So one of the other points I want to talk about too is a lot of intranets today are missing out. They don't have that dynamic content, or they're not taking advantage of some of the technology that is available to them in terms of that dynamic content, especially on those homepage situations.
That's awesome. Yeah. To your point then on the dynamic content, is there dynamic content that like integrates the experience? Because that's one of the big challenges today, right? Is that it can feel fragmented, right? If you're in a page experience when, normally you're working in meetings and
Yeah.
recordings and you're meeting and, doing emails, you're doing other activities. So, yeah, what have you seen there?
So on your homepage, we have content that's usually top down. It's communication for everyone. And like I said, traditionally that has been static. It can be a mix of regional or local content, again, depending on your size of organization and the personalization that has been set up. The news feed is a good example in that case. It's showing you information, like you said, from Teams. We can source information from Outlook and things of that nature. And again, just this is where we get into that conversation of me content versus that we content. Me content, that news feed on the right hand side can be that dynamic content that's being fed up and automatically curated for you.
Yeah, the sort of
Um,
two feeds, right? The Viva Connections news feed, which is like, Viva Engage and like internet articles, and then there's sort of that Microsoft
yeah.
365 feed, right? That's such a cool web part, which has like for those who are using Microsoft 365 for your intranets, it has team signals and email signals and all that all in one little control. So, it's an interesting discussion because when we talk about the homepage, that has its own design patterns, the me and us content again, or the we content. We see a lot of times we don't have enough of me content, enough dynamic content. I love those examples. What about beyond the homepage? When you think of landing pages for departments or other groups, is there a particular pattern or a thing you're seeing that, people get wrong or that could be better?
Yeah, another great example that comes to my mind is the news landing page. So, you think of you're on your homepage, you see a listing of all your news stories, and there's a link to view all news. Most intranets have that. We click on that. Traditionally, you would see, your stories listed from the newest, the latest and greatest down to the older stories, and then it archives automatically. Those are great. But we're seeing shifts and changes in how content can be sourced on these landing pages. More personalized, more dynamic in the sense that we can share news that have maybe you've bookmarked from another area on the intranet, totally different place. You've bookmarked it, but there's a connection there. We can source that news. We can also point you to news that is popular, that's trending. Maybe there's a lot of engagement happening within your organization or department on a certain story. So we can pull that information to the top dynamically or automatically because the system thinks, hey, you may be interested in this or it's relevant to your situation right now. So that's really important and really exciting. Another example is we can filter content by category and type, or an example by department. So if you wanted to source information, announcements from HR or communications, we can source that, build out experiences on the landing page that will curate the content automatically. So someone's going in, they're creating the news story, they're tagging it a certain way, and then we can feed those to multiple places on the intranet.
I love it. And it makes me think of like, you're right, that kind of see more news page and how it could be more robust if you had, what's your news that you bookmarked
Yeah.
alongside that news? Or, at the same time, why not have them all? Like what's trending in this news category? What's, your news in this news category? And also, what's chronologically relevant? That's awesome. Personalization is one of those factors that affects design, right? And we've talked a little bit about that with things like, bookmarking and, my feed experience on an intranet homepage. But
Yep.
what are some other examples from a personalization experience that you've seen within an intranet context?
Another good example would be the Viva Connections dashboard. We're seeing that you can now personalize on the mobile uh, version of Viva Connections which cards you want. So again, if there's a bunch of cards that your org has, and they could be dynamic, again, dynamic content where it's giving you a listing of contacts or maybe your day-to-day tasks, and it's updating in real time, you can pick and choose which cards to feature in the mobile version, which is really nice. So it's giving you some of that flexibility, some of that personalization. You're getting some control of the content to make you more efficient, I would say, doing your tasks and a better employee experience all around.
I love that
And
example because, mobile is something you do often. And it's also, that's an experience that's just amazingly robust, the dashboard cards. So the idea that people can kind of
yeah.
control it themselves makes sense. Awesome, awesome feature highlight. I didn't even think about that new experience. Um, you know, the other thing that people talk about a lot of times is as people generate more content, people are generating content
Mm.
with Copilot, now we're creating pages and, from other artifacts and things like that. I have sort of two questions. As we create content, how do we ensure that the brand, that the design is kind of fitting our needs as people kind of create new content in new ways? And then the
Mm.
sort of secondary thing is, what do you feel like, where are the areas where AI is going to impact intranets, right now, like where it might be more impactful than others?
Yeah, totally. This is something near and dear to my heart. Marketing, design, I love these things. And with the recent announcement of the new brand center for SharePoint, this will help enable some of that creativity while keeping some guardrails when you're creating pages. So I love that this brand center will have the rules defined for you. So the fonts, the colors, even the layouts, you don't have to think or worry about that. You can go in and you can easily create these experiences, be it a news post or even these special custom landing pages that we're talking about. And when you're building them, you're going to follow the rules. So they'll maintain that consistency with your brand. No one has to go in and be constantly updating and tweaking this font here or this color. They're not using the brand colors, or even think about accessibility. When we set up these standards in the brand center, we can make sure that those accessibility guidelines are followed, and no one has to worry or wonder, did I choose the right color? Or
Mm.
yeah, so there's a lot of good things that are coming about that. And then the second question about how AI is helping us, it's basically speeding up our process. It's enabling us to easily go in and craft this content. It's almost like another hand coming in to help hold you, guide you, and direct you through creating the content, giving you suggestions, and even adding some of that dynamic content to your pages. So it's only going to improve content for consistency, and make it easier and enable users to go in and create content on the internet.
Well, let me cut you off there because I know we're going to run out of time. And I know the next session and the next topic we're going to do for UX for EX is on AI, which I'm sure we're going to talk a ton about UX patterns, how it
Yeah.
relates to employee experience, and how AI is changing that. But it's been an absolute pleasure. I love working with you and with our team. It was great hearing some of those UX patterns you're seeing on intranets today. Anything else you want to share as we kind of wrap up?
Well, thanks for joining me again, Richard. And yeah, just want to say, if you have questions or comments, please leave them on the socials, in the YouTube feed. Happy to go through them. If there's a certain topic about UX, user experience design, that you'd like us to cover, please share and we will look into that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Bye for now, everyone.